Good evening, Crimson Tide Nation, and welcome to the first ever edition of the Alabama Crimson Tide Call-In Show right here on Alabama with the Voice of College Football. From yours truly, Jackson Johnson, and my partner in crime, Jeffrey from Only Talk Sports, as we go over our take on some of the latest news on the Alabama Crimson Tide while we take your calls right here on Alabama with the Voice of College Football. How you doing tonight, man?
I'm really excited about it, man. The first edition of the call-in show at Alabama at the Voice of College Football, and really excited to do it with you, man. It's tough. It's coming off of a devastating loss, but still, it's going to be a lot of fun, and cannot wait to hear what you guys, the Alabama Crimson Tide faithful, have to say about that ugly game, because I know that's what everybody's going to be talking about. Trust me, that's probably what's on everybody's mind that is an Alabama fan. But definitely a great time to kick off the show, and it's going to be a blast.
Oh, man, it's going to be a tremendous one. And I got to say, though, it's going to be interesting to see how we rebound against South Carolina. Although that's not a sure thing. Although after what we saw on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, you would think, right? Like in my mind, when I think Alabama, I'm like, they beat Georgia. You know, they should be easily able to knock off South Carolina. The Vanderbilt game, like, didn't even sweat on that one. I mean, when me and Will made our picks for that game, I don't even think we picked that game. We skipped right over it, which was a massive mistake, skipping that game, which, I mean, I'm kind of glad we did, because who I would have picked in that game. I mean, Vandy hadn't won since 1984. Neither of us were born by far. So, I mean, just unbelievable. I still cannot believe it. I'm still in a state of shock. The more I look at that game, though, the more I'm not surprised that it happened, to be completely honest with you. The more I'm not surprised it happened, because it's not Nick Saban anymore. It's not a Nick Saban-led team. And I think Kalen DeBoer is a great coach, but I don't think that he's at the point yet where he has a grasp on the team and these players, and getting them to not overlook opponents, taking, the rat poison per se, as Nick Saban would always say. Like, you cannot let the rat poison get to you. You have to treat every opponent the exact same way. It doesn't matter if it's the Citadel or if it's Georgia. You got to treat every opponent the same. And that's not what happened against Vanderbilt. They did not treat Vanderbilt like they were a legitimate opponent. I mean, obviously Missouri just got destroyed by Texas A&M, but Vandy gave Missouri a game. So I don't think Vanderbilt is an awful team. They also beat Virginia Tech. Not that Virginia Tech's a great team, but Vandy is not like the bottom of the barrel, team that they've been in some years, where like they can't even get close to beating anybody. They're a decent team. And I think Nick Saban would have had the players focused and prepared, and at least, even if they did at first struggle, they would have turned it around by the end of the game. But Kalen DeBoer just couldn't get the team to that point, and they tripped up.
Yeah, and in a way, this game kind of feels similar to 2017 Oklahoma Iowa State, because like nobody watched that game, nobody had that on their radar. But then once we saw, it basically sunk in that, this team upset Oklahoma. That can happen to any one of us. I feel like it's the same way for Alabama Vanderbilt. But I mean, if we have more moments like this for the rest of the season, then it's time to panic. And I understand like some people getting upset, by saying, oh, well, Saban wouldn't have done that. But it's like nobody's perfect. But you can't be losing games like Vanderbilt.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, I remember when Alabama lost at Texas A&M a couple of years ago, when Alabama was, not a major favorite, but, they were expected to win that game, and A&M won. And I remember the Bama fans going crazy on Twitter, like absolutely crazy. So, yeah, all I will say is with that is I feel like Alabama fan. Now, I haven't scrolled Twitter all over, so there could be some people going absolutely nuts. But I feel like more people are taking this, I wouldn't say well, but knowing that this isn't Saban anymore, and that, it is what it is, right? Like, this might happen more often now that Alabama's just not going to beat up on everybody and go undefeated the time like they did under Nick Saban. I wasn't expecting that. Like, literally, my prediction in the preseason for Alabama football was 10-2. Like, I did not have Alabama going undefeated. I didn't have them losing just one game. Did I have them losing to Vanderbilt? No. But I thought that they would lose a couple games. And, I mean, this proves it. They're not the same team because they don't have the same coach. They got a lot of talent, like always, and they got a great coach. They just don't have the greatest coach of all time anymore. And things are going to be a little bit different. So, just hopefully, like you said, we don't see many more losses to Vandy because you're not supposed to do that. I mean, a loss to like a Missouri, okay, not Vandy.
Yeah, I mean, you can't be having losses like that. And in a way, this has me worried about games like Tennessee and, LSU and Oklahoma and even Auburn. Because I'll be real with you, even though Auburn's a disaster, they're going to bring their A game against Alabama.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like in some of those games, though, Alabama will be more prepared. They'll be more ready for those opponents because they're better teams. Like Tennessee, I mean, even if they don't beat Tennessee, they're going to be, definitely taking the Volunteers seriously because they're a really great team. I can't say elite, though, man, because they just tripped up, too, to Arkansas. That's not as bad of a loss, though. Now, on paper, that's not as bad of a loss, but still, that's not going to be an easy game. I mean, the last time Alabama went to Tennessee, they didn't win. Yeah. So, I mean, they could lose that game. They could lose to, LSU. They could lose to, like you said, Auburn. I mean, it is at Alabama, but you never know. But, yeah, I mean, Alabama, I feel like, is going to take those opponents seriously. So even if they don't win, they're going to play good in the game. Like, you can still play good and lose. I mean, because the issue with the Vanderbilt game, they just didn't play good. Their defense was terrible. And Milroe had a couple mistakes, reminiscent to Milroe early on last year against Texas. So the whole team wasn't crisp. Yeah, I see we got Steve in the chat. I think he's watching on Twitter. Appreciate that, Steve. Definitely go Buckeyes. We know you're a Buckeyes fan, Steve.
It's all right.
Appreciate you being here, though.
We welcome everybody.
Everybody's welcome, like Jackson said. It doesn't matter. You can be a fan of Mary Mac. Anybody can be here. We love it.
Oh man, that's
Mary Mac should not be beating Bama though. If they do, then something really wrong.
You think the Saban the Saban wouldn't have done that? Calls were bad last weekend. Wait till we lose to a school like Merrimack. Oh God.
If that happens, man, I'm gonna lose my mind. Not complete. My brain's not gonna fall out of my head like SpongeBob or anything, but it's not gonna be. It's not gonna be great.
Oh man, like
I mean, the whole world will be upside down. The college football world if that happened.
Man, a lot of people last week, like after the game, it's like soiled it.
He soiled the good Alabama name.
Soiled it.
Oh my gosh. We got Rough Rider Returns in the chat. Appreciate you stopping by, Boomer Sooner.
Thanks for tuning in to the first ever edition of the call-in show of the Alabama Crimson Tide right here on Alabama, the voice of college football.
This is what happens when you get me and Jackson together. You're going to have some SpongeBob references.
It's going to be a wild ride
and other
sure.
Cartoons.
Oh, yeah. You're going to hear a lot of them. And you can tune in on Indiana at the Voice of College Football every Tuesday nights as Jeffrey. I pointed the wrong direction. You can tune in to see what Jeffrey has to say on the latest news and notes on the Indiana Hoosiers. And I'll tell you one thing, came in good timing with the Indiana Hoosiers being the first ever bowl eligible team in all of college football. I mean, can't believe that's even coming out of my, that's pretty amazing right there.
It's an exciting time for Indiana. I mean, I can't believe Indiana's got a better record than Alabama right now. I mean, that's kind of broken. Will it last? I don't know. I really don't even care if it does. I'm just excited for Indiana right now and for the fans. And it's a great time to talk about the Hoosiers. So definitely, like, if you want to support the channel, would definitely appreciate you checking out Indiana at the Voice of College Football, trying to grow all of the different team channels at the Voice of College Football. Got a lot more of them coming. Ole Miss is already here. Rutgers, Penn State's coming. A lot of new channels at the Voice of College Football. Indiana's already been launched. We're trying to get that channel up, 500,000 subs. So definitely would appreciate that. But appreciate you guys for being here at the first edition of the Call-In Show. No one's called in yet. So me and Jackson, we're just going to keep talking Alabama football until somebody calls in. But definitely appreciate you guys for being here so far. There's a lot to discuss. I mean, there's a lot to talk about with Alabama football. So, I mean, when you looked at that game, though, Jackson, like your initial takeaways when they lost to Vanderbilt, I mean, like you kind of already prefaced, like you didn't completely, hit the panic button. I'm not either, but a lot of people are. But, I mean, like on a scale of 1 to 10 on like the panic meter, 10 being, really panicking and 1 not panicking, where are you at with Alabama right now?
I'm at a 5.
Okay. I would go with a 6, but I 5 and 6, about the same. I'm nervous. I'm nervous, man. I'm like, okay, at Georgia game, though, that's the only reason it's not higher. We saw what Bama can do, what they can do. But the thing that concerns me is the fact that it's the way they played after the first half. You know what I'm saying? The first half, that was probably the best half of football by any team in college football this season. But then you had that second half. They almost let Georgia come all the way back and win the game. So really, to be completely honest, the Vanderbilt game kind of seemed like an extension of the second half against Georgia. Yeah, Ron Williams and how great he is. And they ended up pulling it out. But Alabama didn't play very well in that second half.
No. I mean, we were disastrous. I mean, I think, honestly, when it started to sink in for me that we could actually lose this game against Vanderbilt was that pick six in the first quarter. I mean, I know a lot of people are like, oh, my God, in halftime, like, oh, we could actually lose this game. But for me, it was the pick six.
Yeah, I would say that definitely that play – gave Vandy the hope, like, hey, we can legitimately beat them. But to me, the play, because I didn't still think anything of it. I'm like, well, Alabama's being a little sluggish, coming off the Georgia win. I'm not concerned. The play that did it for me, Jackson, is when Bama cut it to 2, and then on 4th and 1, Vandy went for it and had that touchdown pass.
Yeah,
you remember that play. That's the play right there where I'm like, okay, we're getting kind of a little bit of crunch time here. It's getting later on in the game. Bama should be taking the lead now. Didn't happen. You had that 4th and 1 touchdown pass from Vandy. Great pass by Diego Pavia. And that made me concerned they could lose, and they ended up losing.
There we go. And we have our first caller of the night on the Alabama Crimson Tide Call-In Show. Caden the Man joining us. How you doing tonight, good buddy?
Good morning, voice, or actually, good evening, voice of college football, Alabama. This is Caden the Man from the Man. That's right, Caden the Man, live on YouTube. How's it going, Jackson? How's it going, Jeff?
Doing pretty good. How you doing, man?
Well, as you probably know. Well, thank you so much for having me, gentlemen. This is the man, the myth, the legend, Caden the Man, the OSU, the most evil Ohio State fan on YouTube, coming on the Alabama Crimson Tide Show. I know, Big Ten, y'all don't like us. We don't like you. I get it. So let's cut the hatred out. Let's cut all that hate out, because I think we can wait until the college football playoff round to say all our aggression out. And I think Jackson can agree with me, because the last time Alabama Ohio State played, it was kind of a bit of a one-sided, or kind of a bit of a dog fight. I'll just admit that. But between Alabama and Ohio State, we'll wait to finish that rivalry in the playoff round. How about that, gentlemen?
Sounds okay with me. Alabama definitely needs to tune up some things so they can be able to have a shot to win.
I'm just wanting to get through the rest of the regular season. Then we can really think about whether we're playing Ohio State or not.
Well, I mean, we're tied 1-1 in the college football playoffs. Let's be honest, 1-1. Someone's got to give up the one. Someone's got to give up another win. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Let's talk about Alabama ironing the win against Georgia. That was impressive. Someone surprisingly had the gall to beat the number one defense in the country, and clearly show that Georgia still has a few things to work on. Give Georgia credit for holding it down, at least in the second quarter. But enough of Georgia. Let's talk about the rest of the season. So you got 2 road games, and that's at LSU, which Death Valley I hear is a really tough place. And let's be honest, that's not going to be a pretty game. I will admit that will not be for the faint of heart, and that will not be for the weak of heart in Death Valley. And then I believe it's Ole Miss that y'all got to play on the road.
We don't play Ole Miss this year.
We have Oklahoma.
Oklahoma on the road. Excuse me, Oklahoma on the road.
And we have Tennessee on the road.
At Tennessee, at LSU, at Oklahoma.
Now that's gonna be that's gotta be tough for you guys. That y'all have to go to 3 places: Death Valley, Norman, Oklahoma, and then Knoxville. Jeez.
I mean, the thing is, like, if Alabama loses 2 of those games and they're 9-3, it could be a little dicey on making the playoff. Probably not, since they lost
the chances of making the college football playoff is a 61% chance of y'all making the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not just trying to throw that out just to brag about, Alabama didn't play well this year. No, you all played well this year. And the win against Georgia, that was impressive. You were the only one of 2 teams to at least beat only one team to beat the Dogs by a good margin.
I mean, Alabama has been the only team that can beat Georgia, the last few years. No one else can beat them.
And let's get to the point. Georgia was the number 1 team in the country for the last 3 years. I give Georgia the credit for hanging with Ohio State for 60 minutes in the Peach Bowl game 2 years ago. Now that was just to show, we can hang with Georgia. A Big Ten team. Let's get that out of the way. A Big Ten team, and everybody's gonna say, "Oh, Big Ten fans are not welcome on the Alabama Crimson Tide show." Well, guess what? Take the man in. Well, I'm just going to say this. Ohio State fans and Alabama fans don't get along very well. And I get that point. But let me ask you, Jackson and Jeff, a question. So if Georgia were to, beat everybody else in the rest of the season, go on to the playoffs and play whoever, and excluding Ohio State, wait until Ohio State and Georgia played twice, the second time in 2 years, since 2022. What would you guys think about Georgia going 11-1, 12-1 after this year, or this coming year? Well, give me your thoughts on that.
I feel like if Georgia was 12-1, I mean, they would be the SEC champs in that case, right?
Right.
I feel like they would be the number 1 overall seed. And I think that when you see the SEC title game and the Big Ten title game, you're basically seeing somebody playing for a bye. I mean, it's not going to be somebody playing for a playoff spot. It's basically who's going to get that first round bye.
Right. And I'm going to give, Caleb DeBoer, credit. First year head coach of Alabama since, the great Nick Saban retired. And I know that kind of made y'all upset that, the greatest, one of the greatest of all time of coaches has finally stepped down.
I felt like I was hit by a truck when that.
Yeah, when I heard the news, I was like, this can't be real. It cannot be real. And it was. It was tough.
Well, and an announcement that was put to the wayside was Pete Carroll not being able to return as the head coach for the Seahawks for 2024. So it was like, my news isn't earth-shattering like it was 30 minutes ago. That's probably what he was thinking.
No, but here's my thing. Coach Saban was the backbone of Alabama. He was the guy that helped your program not only become the program that people remember it as it is. He helped that program become the program that people are going to be saying about for the next 10, 15, 20 years. Talk about the greatest Alabama teams under the greatest coach of Alabama's football history. Now, all credit to Coach Saban, and if he's listening to the show, and probably he does, but he just probably doesn't come on here because, reasons. Coach Saban, as an Ohio State fan, give you credit. You've won the most national championships in a coach's career. I mean, Woody Hayes is second to you. Now, that's true facts. Woody Hayes is at 5 national championships. Saban's at 6.
Bear Bryant's tied at second with Woody Hayes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I don't think anybody would have thought that a coach could have passed Bear Bryant with what he did. Yeah. And then you had Saban.
Nobody could, and I didn't think, Coach Saban was going to pass Woody Hayes. The standard of excellence, but sure enough, he did. And sure enough, did he say, Alabama's the school of discipline. He has it set the way he had it set. So give credit to Alabama. And, if y'all don't make the playoffs this year, that's fine. Y'all need just a couple. Y'all need to get yourselves together because I know as an Ohio State fan, I never have felt that before, like the time where we needed to reset ourselves. Mm. And I'm saying recessing the coaching staff, recessing the defense, recessing the offense, seeing what we need to get fixed on that team, what needs situated. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry if I'm boring you out with Ohio State crap if you guys just don't like Ohio State football. So I'm just going to point that out now.
We're pretty cool with the Buckeyes. Matter of fact, we're cool with everybody in all college football.
Now there's a saying about the 2 most physical teams in college football, and that being Ohio State and Georgia. Physicality is a whole nother thing on defense. Okay, defense is what wins championships. Everybody knows that quote.
Yep.
And when you talk about Georgia's defense, the thing is with them, and I'm sorry to all the Alabama Crimson Tide fans and even Roll Tide 99, but I just want to point that defense, Alabama's defense, they need to get their secondary situated because if they start playing LSU and Tennessee, Nico's going to be pretty much throwing dimes against y'all's cornerbacks and safeties. So there's my one concern about Alabama's secondary is that they need to get that secondary, ready for those passes from Nico, the quarterback at Tennessee. Because I remember the game when y'all went to Knoxville and lost by 3 points? Mm-hmm. To Josh Heupel, a former Heisman quarterback at the University of Oklahoma. And I said, it was Hayden Hooker's arms that helped Tennessee beat Alabama's defense. It wasn't just Alabama's defense or Tennessee's defense. It was Tennessee's offense that beat Alabama's defense in that game. It was Hayden Hooker's arm that beat Alabama. So my thing is with Nico and them, with the receiver core he has, my concern is Alabama ready in the secondary. Can DeVore, can he get the defensive coordinator at Alabama? And I don't know if it's still Pete Golding or who's Alabama's defensive coordinator. Let me just be out of curiosity.
Well, it's not Pete. Yeah, we got the Womack bat as our DC.
Yeah, and I thought it was Pete Golding, South Alabama head coach.
And I thought it was still Pete Golding.
Yep, Pete Golding's at Ole Miss.
Oh, so he's gone now. Man, you guys really lost a big amount of that staff.
Yep.
Let me ask Jackson and with Jeffrey, what happened in that certain amount of time? After losing, after last year in the playoffs, what happened in that certain in that amount of time that you guys were saying about like, how Coach Saban was going to rebuild, and I was listening. By the way, big listener to the show, first time caller. I forgot to mention, but the thing is, like, couldn't Coach Saban leave his team that he had helped build at the same time? He could have helped, get back into the playoff picture with that like momentum.
Honestly, I don't know. It's I did I yeah. What way? Like, I don't even know what.
It's a tough question. It legitimately is a tough question.
I'm asking you, as Alabama fans, like by the heart, like what would you think, like Coach Saban's thought, like what would you think, like it was like, what do you think it was that caused Coach Saban to be like, I decided to leave when, he had a good team. He has a good quarterback. He has the good, coaching staff that he could say, like, hey, let's just come back for one more year and try to get it back together. You know what I mean? So,
I mean, the couple rumors that I've heard, number one, a lot of people have talked about, remember Saban's wife has, some health issues or whatever, Miss Terry. I don't know if that's exactly why he retired. Because, he's on TV right now, he's on TV like Urban Meyer. So he's still, doing, stuff on weekends, and it's not coaching. He's commentating or whatever. But the thing is, too, is that if it's not that, some people are just saying, well, the portal and NIL, leveled the playing field more. And I guess he didn't want to deal with it anymore. A lot of coaches have left recently, like Jay Wright. Why did Jay Wright, I know it's not football, but why did he leave Villanova basketball? He just left. He was doing fine. He's doing great. Maybe that's why. I can't say for sure unless Saban, honestly comes out himself. Because, I agree with you, Caden. I get it. Like, Alabama probably would have had another great team this year and been even better with Saban. Because, they're doing great until Vanderbilt with DeBoer, but with Saban done even better. But I guess he was done, I guess. It's just crazy. But I do think the changing landscape in college football made it easier for him to leave.
Yeah, and that was the other thing that I thought, that might have, kind of pushed Coach Saban over the edge is like, with all the NIL money, he's like, he's like, he can't deal with it in press conferences. They ask him about his thoughts and, how he says he can't deal with it. He's like, he doesn't know why, why this is necessary. I get it for being, in the age of a coach that he is. I get it. But also at the same time, I'm thinking, you have a great team, a loaded offense, a loaded defense that you could help rebuild. And Pete Golding is still there, like an absolute, champ.
Yeah, and the thing is too is that he probably wouldn't have lost some of the, some of the players that left Alabama, transferred to other teams. Those guys probably wouldn't have left if Saban was still the coach. So they might have even had a better team than they currently do by a little bit, not by a substantial amount, but they did lose a couple players to the portal, a few guys that were really solid. So they would have been a great team, a fantastic team with Saban. I don't know if they'd have won it all, but they would have been close like they always were. So it is crazy. But, Breakaway 34, appreciate that. He says he agrees with what I said earlier. I like, and you said as well, Caden, too. I think that all those factors went into play because, a lot of these guys that have been coaching for a long time, Saban's been coaching for 30, 40 years. He remembers the way football was before. It's not the same anymore. That's why, there is a lot of parity right now. Will it continue? I don't know. But with the portal, we're seeing teams that never win have success, even if it's fleeting. Kansas has been good recently. Indiana this year, undefeated and ranked. A lot of teams that don't normally win are having success because of the rule changes, and it's leveled the playing field. I don't know if it will last, but I do think that played a big role. Saban is getting a lot older, and a lot of people are talking about Mac Brown. He doesn't have his touch anymore. He needs to retire at Carolina. Maybe Saban felt that he himself was showing cracks. I don't know. I mean, a lot of people were even talking about Saban like earlier in his tenure, like when things went wrong. I mean, he would break his headsets. He would go crazy. And toward those last couple years, he was getting a little passive. And I remember one game after his own wife was telling him, like, you need to get after him more. And Saban started doing it again. But like when you get older, it's tough to keep that intensity. It's tough. I mean, you have to be at the top of your game to have your team at, the top of college football. So maybe he felt that he wasn't at the top of his game anymore and that things would start to decline. He wanted to stop while he was still on top. Even though they didn't win at all, they were a fumble away with Jalen Milroe from beating Michigan. They would have won it all. So maybe he felt that this year he wouldn't have done as well. Maybe the cracks were starting to form. I don't know.
Yeah, but let me ask you, as Alabama fans, on this on another subject. Georgia's been, and I've been
Cut out for a little bit. Good. We could not hear you. But
I know you guys don't like the Georgia Bulldogs, but I've been hearing a lot of them say, like, the era of the dogs is coming upon, college football. Nobody's safe from Georgia's defense in the SEC. Like, Georgia's defense is this, like, terrifying, like, machine that will beat anybody as they please. Like, as soon as, Georgia fans started going, like, crazy, like, nuts about it, like, give me your thoughts on that, like, that like, conversation when it started, like, arising, all of a sudden. Because I've been hearing a lot of them, like, say, like, Georgia's this unstoppable train, like, this unstoppable defense that nobody can beat.
Nobody. And I mean, nobody in 2024 is unstoppable.
No.
No,
I do think the portal and NIL is playing a bit of a role with that. I do. I mean, I feel like a lot more teams have comparable teams, and like guys transfer. Like if they're not playing, like you don't have the depth maybe you would have had because some guys are leaving. I mean, it's really hard to recruit even with high school players anymore because after 1 year, if they're not playing, they leave and go to another school. I mean, it's insane. So it's almost just better to recruit the portal, but then you could strike out in the portal if you get the wrong guys like Florida State did this year. So there's a lot of factors at play. I mean, Georgia, I think, has the potential to, with Kirby Smart, to maybe win 4 or 5 national championships under his tenure, under, however long he coaches there. But at the same time, with how things are right now, maybe not. I mean, the SEC, college football, that's a competitive conference. Same with the Big Ten and the teams they've added. It's very competitive. So it's hard to continuously, roll and win all the games every season and win a championship. So I don't know.
No, like I understand what you're saying, Jeffrey, but I've heard a lot of, like I said, I've heard a lot of Georgia fans come on here and talk about how they're unstoppable. They're unbeatable. They can't be stopped. They're this train. They're this they're this machine that just can't be stopped. In the defensive game. Now I get why they're saying they're saying the chance of of that unstoppable defense that can't be stopped or beat, and I get that. Losing Alabama, that was kind of just ticking them off a little bit, and then when they beat Auburn, it's like, is this the same Georgia defense that people feared for that long, for three years? And I'll say this, as an Ohio State fan, I feel like us being close to beating the greatest defense in the SEC, that being Georgia, just kind of put that dent in Georgia where it's like, okay, well, maybe there is a chance that Georgia's not unbeatable, unstoppable. Maybe there is maybe 1 or 2 teams that can play them 60 minutes up and down the road. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, the thing is like even Georgia can have bad games because like they almost lost to Kentucky. Kentucky's not a top 25 team, but they almost lost to them. They almost lost to Missouri a couple years ago when Missouri was not a good team. They almost lost to Kent State a couple years ago. Yeah. Auburn's hung with them. They're vulnerable too. Every team, all teams are made up of human beings, and human beings make mistakes, and they don't always play as well as they could. So, I mean, every team's beatable. I mean, even Nick Saban teams were beatable. It's just he was such a great coach, and they had such great teams that they barely ever slipped up, but they still did. I mean, Ole Miss beat them in the past. Mississippi State beat them before. I mean, like they are a beatable team. Every team is beatable. But I know what you mean, though. Like Georgia fans saying that, but they're not unbeatable. They're not unstoppable. And I would argue, like defenses peaked a few years ago. Like Bama used to hold LSU, Leonard Fournette, like 15 yards on the ground, 10 yards. Like they couldn't run on Alabama. You couldn't throw on Alabama. But now with the changing offenses, teams are airing it out. It's a little bit different. Like defenses, it's a lot more pressure. And the rule changes, like some rule changes with targeting, it almost makes it harder with defense too. So, I mean, all around, like teams just aren't as good defensively. So, I mean, Georgia's definitely not unstoppable at all. Because, I mean, like, if Alabama, like, if they play good defense against Vanderbilt, they don't lose. They gave up 40. I mean, I was a pick 6 in there, but still, I mean, like, they did not stop Vandy. So, you have to play great defense, like, to your point, to be an unstoppable team. And Georgia's not unstoppable. And Alabama isn't anymore either.
No.
And probably never were, even at their height. Every team's beatable.
No, and I understand your point, Jeffrey, but let's go to the year Georgia lost 15 starters to the NFL draft. Okay, opening game, they beat Oregon 49-3. And everybody's like, oh, this is crazy. And then the next year they come out and they just start whipping people left and right. Georgia's defense holds people to less than 6 points a game. Holds them less to like 10 yards on the ground and 25 yards down on the passing ground, on the passing game. And and like between those 2 years, it's like, Georgia's on this like craze train where it's like we can't be stopped. We can't be beat. Like, there's nobody that can play us like that. There's nobody that's on their level of physicality on defense. Beating people like for example, beating Heidi Hooker's Tennessee Bulls in Nashville, then beating them at home, like just ragdolling them, almost like ragdolling. And I'm just not trying to use the phrase ragdolling as like a phrase of intimidation, but I'm just saying, like, in the words of Georgia fans I've heard on this show, call in, where it's like I've heard them say, like, Georgia's defense is quote ragdolling and like just toying with people. And it's like, okay, I get why you're saying this team is unbeatable and they're ragdolling. And they're saying like they'll ragdoll Alabama any day of the week. I've heard like Georgia fans come on in here and say like their defense at the time, like just not even last year, just would say like we would ragdoll Alabama any day of the week, anytime, anywhere, any place. I heard the biggest Georgia Bulldog fans like say wholeheartedly that defense have quoted like that defense is unbeatable. I'm like, well, what happened in the Peach Bowl game 2 years ago against Ohio State? Like, I asked Georgia fans, what happened in 2022 when y'all played us in the Peach Bowl semifinal? We were the only team that scored more touchdowns on the number 1 defense in the country. Because like I said, I give Georgia credit. I'm not trying to downgrade Alabama. No way. I say this to Alabama fans honestly. I get y'all have pride. I get y'all have, y'all are the best. But in this case, it's like you see this team coming down the track. It's crazy to see this team that just continuously ragdolls and ragdolls and ragdolls. And even Jackson understands what I'm saying. Just ragdolls people, just ragdolls teams on their schedule like it's nothing. And it's like,
oh man!
Every time you keep saying ragdoll, I think of the Aerosmith song.
I feel like we could put in $1 for every time we're hearing about ragdolling tonight.
Well, I mean, it's true. I mean, only Alabama's been able to beat Georgia recently, like in the last 5 years or whatever, basically. But Ohio State was really close. I mean, Ohio State should have won the game. I mean, if Harrison didn't get hurt, that should have been targeting. We would
have won the game. Jeffrey makes a good point.
Well,
and Jeffrey makes a good point.
There we go. Well, we gotta get to our next caller. Any final thoughts and what you got going on in your adventures this weekend?
Well, Ohio State does play Oregon on the road, and I got them winning by 3 touchdowns, and that's only because I got the defense of Ohio State's. They're back, they're ready to rumble, and they're ready to hang with, and they're ready for Dylan Gabriel. And come tomorrow, Saturday night in Autzen Stadium, best believe Ohio State will beat Oregon. We will beat Penn State, and we will beat Georgia. And like I said, I do want to say to all the Roll Tide Nation, and I want to say to the Crimson Tide fans, if you do, the only reason I'm going to promote my YouTube channel is because I'm needing subscribers and because I'm going to go live tomorrow. So Jeffrey Jackson, if you do want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, feel free to. It's Caden the Man 614 on YouTube. I will be streaming tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I will be taking phone calls, or you guys can just call in randomly whenever you want. We could talk college football. We could talk about whatever team you want. I particularly am talking Alabama fans, Clemson. Particularly Alabama Big 12 fans, because those are the only fan base that I can at least talk common sense with. Because, Clemson fans, I really can't get any sense out of them. But anyways, fellas, go Bucks. Hopefully we'll see you in the playoffs maybe next year, next 2 years.
Hopefully that'd be a lot of fun to see that. And thanks, Kate, for coming on, and definitely.
By the way, Jeffrey Jackson, could you do me a favor?
What's that?
Could you give all the Alabama fans on here, especially I never have been around many Alabama fans like in person, but could you give the Alabama fans a good roll, please? Just like Pat McAfee.
Roll. There we go. All right,
here,
Kaden.
Here, and I'll as a Buckeye fan, I'll just say this: go Bucks, and I wish y'all the best of luck. And if not, hopefully we'll see you on the playoffs again.
Well,
hope so. That'd be great.
See you soon, Kaden. Stay safe.
Thank you so much, fellas.
Stay safe. Stay warm. It's cold out. All right, we will keep it going on the call-in show for the Alabama Crimson Tide on Alabama with the Voice of College Football, as we have our next caller, Blake Miles. Sorry for the long wait, man. Sorry you had to wait so long, man. How you doing tonight?
All right. Doing real good. Roll Tide, y'all.
Roll Tide, man. What's on your mind tonight, Blake?
Yeah, what's on my mind? Everybody wants to hit the panic button and don't know why. It's early in the season. Everybody wants to hit the panic button, but they ain't saying why. Okay. Yeah, we lost to Vandy. Okay. But if I don't recall, in the Nick Saban era, if in school history era, okay, just say the school history, Vandy ain't the worst loss Alabama has taken.
No.
Everybody remember Louisiana Monroe?
2007. And we lost to Louisiana Tech in 1999.
Yeah.
Like the Bows.
All right. Thing about Vandy, they got one thing going for them over all those teams that we did lose to. Vandy a Power 5. Those guys that we lost to was like FCS, something like that, like little small mediocre colleges. All right. With the NIL and everything going on with the transfer portal. Excuse me, because somebody riding on a lawnmower. I don't know why. Me out late night on a lawnmower. Hold on. Okay. Give me 1 second. See, he's going to turn this lawnmower off.
There you go. I love that sound.
Yeah. My bad. But anyway.
You're good.
With everything that's going on right now, like I said, with the NIL, the transfer portal, which is going just berserk. Mm-hmm. Other teams are getting players. Other teams are getting staff and stuff, mocked up, whatever. Teams that used to be mediocre and used to be like just laid back, just lame, they're starting to build up now. They're becoming more competitive on the playing field. That's why I was telling other Alabama fans, whatever, just relax, It's early in the season. Don't hit the panic button. Best thing that could have happened to Alabama might have been this week when they did lose to Vandy. It's an eye opener.
Mhm.
Ever since 2011, Alabama seems to lose that one game that they should have won, but then they go off and they bust everybody else's head. Ever since 2011, they'll
Mhm.
lose that one game, go off, beat everybody else, and 9 times out of 10, take it all. Now we got the media talking, people talking about, oh, Kalen DeBoer, his coaching staff, his defensive coordinator. I don't like the way they playing defense. Why they didn't do this? They should have did this, should have did that. No. At the end of the day, that's up to the players that's on the field. You got coaches that's coaching you. They see the stuff on film, like they watch film, all this, like in game, like on game day. It's a live game. They're seeing stuff on the field before you see it. If they start dialing up plays and they telling you, okay, this is your assignment, this is your assignment, this is that, stick to the assignment, but execute. And always have a second option where, okay, if they switch it up at the line, you have a backup plan for a backup plan. That's the game of football. All right. They got to relax. Alabama fans, please, got to relax. Let these guys go out. Let these coaches coach these guys. Let's see what happens this weekend against South Carolina. Now, is it going to be cleaned up? We don't know. Is it going to be better? We don't know. Only thing we can do is pray for is they cleaned it up, they got better, they learned from it, and they come out and beat the Alabama they was in the first half against Georgia. Because second half in the Georgia game, everybody knows we changed up the defensive scheme and we shouldn't have did that. Because when we had that pressure on Carson Beck and we was coming from each and every way and it was a different person every time, Carson Beck did not know what to do. That coaching staff Georgia had didn't know how to counter this, that. They didn't know nothing.
Mhm.
That's Alabama's bread and butter. They need to go back and look at how they played Wisconsin, Georgia, and these other teams, and then say, all right, yeah, we know we screwed up against Vandy, but how can we make it right? Go back to the bread and butter of what was working. Whatever works for you, use it. Whatever don't work for you, get rid of it. They got to go back to their bread and butter. Now, the way they was playing Georgia in the first half of the Alabama and Georgia game, the way they was playing Georgia in that first half, that's their bread and butter right there. They need to go back to doing that and do
Agreed.
that for the rest of the season, but make stuff better, evolve, adapt to each team that is on your schedule right now in front of you. Adapt to their playing field. But when I say adapt to their playing field, adapt to okay, we know they're about to do this. We don't watch the film all week. We don't practice hard all week. But what's our counter punches? What's their weakness? Start really, really digging into these films and breaking these teams down. Attack their weaknesses and keep attacking it. All 4 quarters. Not just the first half, not just, oh, we're gonna do it here and there, but then we're gonna lay out. The problem is not the staff, it's not the coaches, it's players getting your feet off the gas pedal when you know you got them. Get on the gas pedal, young man, and stay on it. The coach is there, they're gonna help you. And I already know Nick Saban, he's still kind of like mentoring them, whatever. He even got his office on campus or whatever. I'm pretty sure that he had a small little speech with coaches and players like he and there, but he's got nothing to do with it. But it's all on film. It's all there. The signs are whatever they did in that first half against Georgia, that's their bread and butter. They know they got the players. They know they got second option players on the 17, 13. They know they got the staff. They know they got all these weapons all over the field. They know how to use them. The problem is you got to stay on the gas pedal. Whatever you did in the first half against Georgia, that's your bread and butter right there. If they go back, start studying what they did wrong in the Vandy game, but then look what they did right in the Georgia game, Wisconsin game, and then the other 2 games before that, and they say, okay, this is what we can do. This is our strength, but this is our weakness. How can we fix our weakness? Go back to your bread and butter of what was working. Whatever was working, that is what's going to make you a champion. But you're going to make it even better as the weeks goes on. You get the wheels turning again. You win these next 3 games because they got 3 games before another bye week. You win these next 3 games, go on a bye week, and then you sit back and you ask yourself, coaches and everybody that get together, film room, ask yourself, okay, what can we do to even get more explosive against teams like your Texas and your Oregon, Ohio States, and even Georgia again because they back in the top 5. What can we do to concentrate on the rest of our schedule, but also if we make it to the playoffs, what can we do to be more explosive and more dominant than the other teams that will be in this playoff? Alabama has a long road ahead of them, and just like these other teams. It's early in the season. Let it all play out. If you want a playoff spot, right now is the best time to earn it. And right now, I kind of like our spot at number 7 because now you can concentrate on what's going on in front of you. But if people don't realize, everybody that's in that top 5, they got some big opponents this week. Oregon at Ohio State. Like, okay, Oregon, you got Ohio State. Ohio State got Oregon. All right. Then Texas got Oklahoma. Then if you go down, Ole Miss got LSU and all these other teams. I got a funny feeling this week this top 10 might change again.
Oh, yeah. Well,
it's going to be some teams that fall off there that you never thought. I don't know really who Tennessee played this week, but I think they might have a tough one. I'm not quite sure. They didn't look at their schedule like
Florida.
that.
They play Florida at 6 p.m. on ESPN in Knoxville.
Okay. Florida, seen a couple of their games, but didn't know they played this week. But Florida starting to come around a little bit. They starting to get the wheels turning with old Billy Napier here and now. Who says, hey, we might have an upset right there?
You know, it's funny though that we haven't.
Right now, it's any given Saturday.
Agree. It feels like 2007 2.0 for everybody in all of college football.
When you said about the panic button, Blake, I feel like the reason why it's not a super big time to panic is because you have a 12-team playoff now. Yeah, yes. That kind of sounds like a cope, but you have a 12-team playoff, so you can afford to lose a game like this. Whereas before, when you had a 4-team playoff or when it was just the BCS, you couldn't lose like this. You couldn't lose to Vanderbilt. I mean, at the time that they lost, maybe you could recover, but you still really couldn't lose to a team like this. Now you can because of the 12-team playoff. But the only issue is I agree with you that Alabama has lost early in the season before, like to the Ole Misses, Texas A&M's in the past. It's just Vanderbilt's not those teams. Even though Vandy's solid enough for Vanderbilt, it's still a surprising loss. I would not completely hit the panic button, but I do agree with you. It's not massively time to panic, but Vanderbilt still was an egregious loss as well. But still not going to completely ruin their playoff chances. They can turn it around.
Yes, and that's why I was telling everybody, it's too early in the season to hit the panic button. We got new stuff. Just give these guys a chance. But right now, I see the look in these players' eyes, and I see what Malachi Moore. Yeah, they didn't give him the right to do what he did in the game after the Vandy loss, whatever. But I seen that if you look on replay, he was giving it to his teammates that was playing in the secondary with him. I think this week at practice, and I think we're going to see a whole different Alabama team coming up. But the thing about this 12-team playoff, this is where it's going to get interesting. I went out, we see teams in there with 2 losses in this thing. It's going to be some teams that's going to be riding 3 losses. I went out to see teams that you would have never thought of end up getting the 10th and the 11th and 12th spot. You would have never thought. It's gonna get wild and very interesting and very exciting round about, I'm going to say week 9, maybe. It's going to get exciting, but then when these playoff rings come out and everybody don't play their schedule, it's going to be very interesting of who's going to have these 12 spots and where they're going to be placed at, who's going to be playing who. It might be teams right now where I'm looking at everybody else schedule, looking at how many losses everybody else got and everybody else that is undefeated, that ain't undefeated. We might have teams that's going to be riding this playoffs with 2 losses.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
It's going to be mayhem.
There is a chance a team with 3 losses.
It's going to be mayhem.
Could sneak in with 3 losses, maybe, but it definitely would depend on everyone.
That's going to be a big maybe. It's going to be mayhem, but it's going to be very exciting. TV ratings going to be out of control. I already know it's going to be out of control. 12-team playoff. It's going to be like a miniature NFL. It's going to be, but tell you the truth, I think Georgia's going to be riding another loss. And I think Texas or either Tennessee gonna give it to them.
At this point, nothing really surprises me. And you made a fantastic point about how you can't overreact to one loss, especially at this part of the year. Because honestly, I remember last Sunday, I heard it from so many relatives and I heard it from so many people. They were like, Nick Saban wouldn't have done this. Nick Saban wouldn't have done that. And it basically showed me a lot of they just watch like the Alabama teams. They're not watching all of college football.
Football, yes. Even Nick Saban has slipped up a couple times here and there. Like I said earlier, remember Louisiana Monroe?
Yep.
And that's a worse team than Vandy. Vandy can beat Louisiana Monroe. Okay, like I was saying, any given Saturday, any team in the nation, I don't care you from Mount West, Pac-12, Big 12, SEC, I don't care you from the WAC, the MAC, the Sun Belt. Any team can come up. Any team can come up and bite you right in the rear. Now it's all about how you're going to respond to it.
Yeah, because I mean,
now
honestly,
you got South. Like I said, now you got South Carolina. It's a different week. How do you respond? How do you show? You got to respond. You got to respond in a dominant way.
Agree. Because if Alabama's going on a winning streak to end the regular season, and then let's say they win two playoff games or 3 playoff games, everybody's gonna forget about that Vanderbilt loss.
Exactly. It's gonna be like it never happened. It's gonna be edited out. It's gonna be a whole like, oh, we got amnesia now. We don't remember that. Well, they're gonna be like, oh, what was that?
Yeah, because like we see that with everybody where it's like, oh well, Notre Dame lost to this team. Have we heard about Northern Illinois ever since they beat Notre Dame?
Oh, they fell off a cliff. I mean, they lost to Buffalo. And then Buffalo lost to UConn. So I mean, again, that's how that transitive property where this team beat that team and it goes down the line. It's like, oh well, Akron's better than Georgia or something. People have done that before. It's like, no, that's not quite how that works. And the better team does not always win. Like Notre Dame's better than Northern Illinois. They just weren't better that day because we've seen what Notre Dame can do. So yeah, that's why we watch football. If the better team always won, there will be no reason to watch.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just like that year where everybody thought Texas might beat Alabama for the national championship, and then Alabama just dominated them and took it. You had some people out here that was riding on Texas. Colt McCoy in Texas. Until Alabama showed up. And that was in 2009.
Yep.
I'm gonna do it like this. Just like that year where everybody thought, oh, Oklahoma, Florida. If I don't recall, we had people riding on Oklahoma. They thought Oklahoma was going to handle Florida. Look what happened. Florida ended up winning. I remember that game. That was the game where I think it was safety or DB, Major White landed that big knockout blow on their wide receiver. man, that had to be one of the hardest hits I ever seen in college football. It sounded like two semis colliding with a Toyota Prius.
Ooh.
He hit him so hard. I don't even think he came back in the game.
No.
It struck fear in them because they didn't try to go back to that side of the field no more. Not to Major White was at.
Well,
I don't recall. I seen that game.
Year in 08 when Florida won it all, at the time when Florida lost to Ole Miss, that's all everybody ever talked about. But then as the season went on, they kept going on their winning streak.
Yep.
We didn't see a hide nor hair of, oh, Ole Miss beat Florida. What's Florida going to do now?
Yeah.
None of that.
Yeah. But see, when that year where Ole Miss beat Florida and they had Tim Tebow, the team, what they did, they all gathered up and they rallied around each other. Urban Meyer called them all together. They was watching LH film. That was the year when Tim Tebow it was in the press conference. He made that speech that he was going to lose no more this year, this, that. Okay. That was the era, like, when Florida, that era of athletes on that Florida team, they was different. They was different. And guess what? They didn't lose no more that year. Ended up winning it all.
They had a good leader. I mean, Urban Meyer.
They had a good leader. All right.
But Tebow was a great leader for that team. If they didn't have Tebow, then even with all those athletes, they probably wouldn't have won. But he kept it together.
Well, in 2 days before that, in 2 days before that, people were talking about Oregon State upset USC. Oh, the mighty has fallen.
Yep. Now, $1 million question is, I know Milroe is the quarterback of our team. Great player. Great player.
Yeah.
Right now, he might be our Heisman front run. Okay. Does he got that same mentality? I believe so. Last year, remember? Lost one game, ended up running the table, finished the whole rest of schedule undefeated, even though they had that one loss. Then they met Georgia in the SEC title game. And hey, he did his thing. That offensive line straightened up, defense, they buckled down, did what they had to do when they had to do it, made the stops they had to make, and ended up beating Georgia, taking the SEC title, went on to the playoffs. All right. Playoff game, okay. It just came one play short. They just came one play short. Everybody knew Michigan was going to be tough. Okay. Came one play short. All right. Does he have that same mentality? We don't know. But something tells me he does. And I don't think this Vandy loss is going to sit well with just the team in general, but I don't think that's going to sit well with him. He tends to play even better after a loss. If you ask me, because he likes to win. Miro likes to win, but he likes to do what his coaches tell him. He likes to listen to instruction, watch film, see what he can do better. He likes to correct his mistakes. Just like they say, oh, he can't make the short intermediate passes and this, that. Well, he's doing it. Oh, he runs too much. Well, not lately. If I look at his pass yards and his touchdown percentages, whatever, he's throwing like 300 plus yards and 2-3 Ds on average. And then running the ball, he's getting 2. Now, the running back core, okay, we got great running backs. They can do they're doing their thing. But now what's going to happen is, I think this Saturday, the running backs is going to have one hell of a game, and Miro is going to have one hell of a game just by dropping back and shotgun and throwing the ball. Miro and shotgun is dangerous. On the center, well, he's in shotgun, and he's switching up plays, and he's listening to the coach. He looks over, okay, just to play, okay. He decides to switch it up at the line. He becomes a more dangerous quarterback because now he's got the option to throw first, but now if it ain't there, they're giving him lanes where, okay, if it breaks down on me, I got this running lane. I can take off, run, get the yards I need to get, start the next play. Next play. Next play might be a handoff to the running back, or the next play be like, okay, down the field shot. He's got to be one of the best deep ball throwers in college football right now, because he does not miss when he's throwing deep and he know he's got the man and it's one-on-one. He seems to put the ball perfectly where it's supposed to be, or where only that wide receiver can make that catch. I think we're about to see a more dangerous Alabama team this week. I had a friend that went to their practices and this week, and they just flying around. They flying around like madmen. We got coaching staff cussing at them here and there, but only when they make a mistake. They got film going on, but they're flying around faster. They look more meaner, more tougher. They look like they're mad at the world and they about to take on the world by storm. Like I was telling everybody, don't hit the panic button too soon, because we've all done this before. Hit the panic button after they lose the game, and then we look up. They ran the table, went through the whole sketch, and now they're playing for a title. We've done this ever since 2011. We're in 2024, and they still doing it. They did it last year in 2023. Yes, lost to Texas. And then we'll look where they ended up at. The SEC title.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
yeah,
is we're going to be okay? Yes. Everybody else, they going to have to play each other, because guess, like I say, you got number 2 against number 3 Oregon. You got Georgia. They still got to face Tennessee, Texas, and Ole Miss. Either one of those 3 games they can lose. Hell, we don't know. They probably, with what we seen in the Alabama game, that first, with these explosive teams they do have, they might end up losing too. Might. We don't know. Then Texas got a tough one this week. Oklahoma, that's a rivalry. Mm-hmm. I hope Texas don't think Oklahoma gonna lay down. That would be messed up. And then they go out there and they cough up a game against Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah.
And Oklahoma is ranked right now at 18th.
Well, and about Texas, Oklahoma this year, here's something that we haven't seen in the past several years of the Red River rivalry.
Yeah.
It's on 2:30, 3:30. And with that, it doesn't bowl well for Texas, because the past 2 times that it didn't bowl well.
And that's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, 2017, Texas lost. And in 2010, Texas lost. And I believe it was 2006 and 2007 that was on 2:30. Didn't bowl well for the Texas Longhorns then.
Exactly. And that's what I'm getting at. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That top 10 can easily change again this week. But Alabama, all I gotta do is just win this game this week and move on to next week. Don't look ahead. Take it one game at a time. Get on the bye week. Whatever you gotta fix. You win these next 3 games, go on the bye week, fix what you gotta fix. Then you come back out and you do the same thing. One game at a time. You just eat away at chunks. You just teeter-tot, just keep teeter-totting away. Then when you finish that rest of that schedule and you don't want all the rest of your games, then you figure out, okay, what do we really want? Are we gonna sit back and watch these other teams play for this title, or do we still want this title more than everybody else? Because Milroe ain't coming back next year. Those veterans, they ain't gonna be there next year. It's now or never. And I think last year they should have got it, but right now it's now or never. It's like, yeah, I know we got a new coach, new staff, new this, but officially, do we have enough to do it? I believe they do. I believe they got enough weapons around there, enough coaching around there, enough people on that staff that's got the mentality to take it all. They just gonna have to just hunker down and just do what they're supposed to do, listen to the coaching, and start adapting to some of these more explosive offenses. And that is going to become a part of what the secondary are going to do. Are we going to stop these explosive plays? Or we're going to start jumping in front of balls, batting them down at the line? Hey, that front seven, hey, or we're going to start batting some of this stuff down, start getting to the quarterback. Because they seem to play a lot more aggressive when Kane Womack sends the blitz packages. When he sends those blitz packages, those guys come around that outside corner edge. They hit you, and it's like, okay, different ball game. Whatever they was doing that first half against Georgia, like I say, that's their bread and butter. They need to go back to that. Go back to that. And when you go back to that and everything starts to roll back over and start rolling again, okay, now you got your feet on the gas pedal. Now stay on it. Even the young guys. You got to really talk to young guys because there's a lot of freshmen on the team, a lot of freshmen here and there starting and whatever. Talk to them. Really sit them down, talk to them, mentor them, coach them up, be like, hey, don't matter you going against a veteran, wide receiver, whatever, you're a DB, you're safe, but you're a freshman, whatever, and he a junior, senior, sophomore, something. You shut him down. Stay on that gas pedal. You keep your foot on their neck, and you don't let up. You got to have a dog mentality, and they got it. Just got to get their young guys to say, hey, now we on the gas pedal. We up in this game. Okay, we're going to keep it there. We're going to stay on this gas pedal. We're going to see where it takes us. You can win a championship and win a lot of games playing that way. They just got to learn from what happened this week. Just learn from it and move on. Forget about it. Next game, come out, dominate. After that, you go to the next game. Take it one game at a time. Don't look ahead. Forget what the media is saying about you. Forget that everybody out here want to hit the panic button. Okay, for the people that want to hit the panic button, don't. Just believe in your team. Stick by your team. Believe in them. And everything going to fall in place. You believe in them. If you go into the game, get loud, get rowdy, make that stadium alive. A lot of people like when Alabama go down in the game, say, get quiet. No. That stadium should be loud at all times. Believe in your team. Do not hit the panic button, people. I think Kalen DeBoer is going to be the answer to them. If they do make the playoffs, it's going to be the answer to them winning that national championship. Look what he did at Washington. Look how Washington ended up where they ended up last year.
And what he did at Fresno State.
Yes. Okay.
As the Indiana offensive coordinator.
Look at his track record. Okay. On his track record, if I'm not mistaken, he's beaten Ryan Day twice and beat Steve Sarkisian twice at other schools.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
He's 2-0 against those guys, both of them. Who says he can't do it again? And when he beat them convincingly. At other schools with lesser athletes than what we got. The athletes he had, they was nothing athletic and fast and physical like the athletes we got out here in the SEC, especially at Alabama. Now he's got a whole playhouse. Kalen DeBoer is going to be the answer. Can he get us there this year with the talent we got and the explosive players we got and all those 4-5 stars we got on the team? Can he get us there? I believe he still can. I believe Vandy was a learning experience. Like, hey, you took them lightly. You went in there sleepwalking. You thought they was the same Vandy. No, they're not the same Vandy. Hello, NIL and transfer portal. That's what it do for you. Mm-hmm. Vandy got players on their team right now that was at other schools, bigger programs, stuff, but they left. They probably was 4 or 5 stars, but they left because they couldn't get on the field. Now they over there at Vanderbilt and they starting already. Mm-hmm. So, hey, there you go. That's what the transfer portal do to you. It'll live out a playing field real quick. And we basically just seen it Saturday. But I think this Saturday going to be a different ball game. I don't think Alabama's going to play like that this Saturday. I don't think we're going to see it. We might see a mistake here and there, but South Carolina, that's a scrappy team, but we might see a mistake here and there. Maybe a bust of coverage on a play there, but it ain't going to be nothing like Saturday.
True.
And hey, I got Alabama winning that game. I'm going to say Alabama can put 50 points on the board this week. I say they'll put 50 points on the board to South Carolina 17. That's all thing I'm going to give them. because I see the look in their eyes, and when players like that and what Malachi Moore, you know what I'm saying? I know that went right where he did at the end of the game, but he's very passionate. He's been there for a while. I'm trying to tell you, they are met. These teams, this team right here, they all had a team meeting. They are met. So we're gonna see a whole different Alabama team this week. I believe we're gonna see a whole different Alabama team this week. If they was gonna come out and make a statement, it should be this week. With everybody else got to play each other, then this whole top 10 about to be wild. So if you're gonna make a statement, you make a statement against South Carolina, but then you let it roll over to the next week and then the next week.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're gonna make a statement, now's a good time.
Yep. Then that'll get people to say, okay, maybe we shouldn't count them out yet. Maybe it start getting people to come around like, okay, they might have been sleepwalking against Vandy. We don't know. Things starting to change back over.
We let that Georgia game go to our heads. Obviously, we.
Oh yeah.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
And this was a point I brought up to many people on and off air. Everyone brings their A game against an Alabama, a Georgia, a Texas, Oklahoma, Ohio State, Michigan, USC, etc.
That's why Auburn lost to New Mexico State, but then they almost beat Bama last year and should have won. 4th and 31.
You know, we brought our A game against Georgia, but we didn't bring our A game against Vandy. Vandy brought their A game against us. They didn't bring their A game against Georgia State. And to Jeffrey's point, they were pretty good against Missouri. They almost upset them, and they beat a Virginia Tech team, although nowhere near as good as they were in the Frank Beamer era. But still, though, you know, Vandy is not one of those god-awful, pitiful teams that they were in years past.
No, not no more.
And the ironic part is the same quarterback that led New Mexico State to an upset against Auburn is that same quarterback who led Vanderbilt to an upset against the Alabama Crimson Tide for the first time since 1984 and the first time since 1969 in Nashville, Tennessee. And guess who was on that staff, even though this guy was not a head coach? Jerry Kill. Guess who he was the head coach of last year? New Mexico State.
All together, man.
Yes. Now, on to this 4-2-5 that Alabama runs. The 4-2-5, I got no problem with it. And the reason I say the 4-2-5, I got no problem with it because you can actually run a double quarterback spy off that. Yes, you can actually run a double quarterback spy off that for a good reason. Because if you got 4-2-5, okay, 4-2-5, okay, the other two, those two, they're going to be spies, but they're also going to be on the blitz. But in case the quarterback want a guy run, say he want to go to the left or the right or shoot up the middle, you got somebody right there. The 5, okay, safety DBs, whatever. Okay, or how they read their scheme, or they go through, read the play. Okay, they see it coming. One of the safeties got to come over sometime. Like, they got to come over sometime. And kind of like what Keon Saab did in that first game of the year when Alabama played that first game of the year that came over, picked the ball off, ran. They got to get back to that. Get back to that. Once they get back to that, cool. But that 4-2-5, I got nothing wrong with it. Kane Womack is on to something with that 4-2-5. A lot of people don't like it. A lot of people hate it. Okay, but the old school defense that Alabama was running, all this and all that, the quarterbacks and the teams that you got with these certain players that you got nowadays, you can't do that no more. So I see why he's doing the 4-2-5. Now, it's up to players to listen to what their assignment supposed to be, where they supposed to be at, who they supposed to block. If you're gonna go man-to-man coverage, go man-to-man coverage. It's up to a safety. It's up to safeties to stick to the assignment, but also help out sometime and read the play. And I think in that Vanderbilt game is what happened. Busted coverages because failure to pay attention to your assignment. Because if you playing man to man and you picking up the assignment, because just like in a press conference, they said, yeah, they did everything that we said they was gonna do on film, and on the film we seen it, and on the field we seen it. Okay, you seen it, but you didn't react. That's where I knew right then and there when I was watching a press conference the other day, was like, okay, if you seen everything on film and they did everything that they did on film and they did it in the game, why didn't you react when Kane Womack told you what they was going to do and what they was going to do and how to stop all this? Because, a coach is not going to just say, okay, just throw you out there and be like, all right, this is what they're going to do, blah, 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 go. No. He's going to say, okay, this is what they're going to do. You see this, all right. This is how we stop it. This is where you need to be. This is what you need to do to help this guy out to stop the explosive plays and potential intercepted or knock it down, ball down, or whatever. But the players in a press conference, whatever, because they said everything that Vandy did on film, we seen it on the field in the game. But I'm like, okay, if you seen everything on film they was going to do, but then you get in the game with them and you see the same thing. My thing is why you didn't react as a football player. Why you didn't react? You knew he was going there. Why you didn't react? Is it something to do with coaching? Yes, some. But some of that is also on the players. That's why everybody taking accountability of what they was doing. That's why everybody is taking accountability. But as a player, you see it on film. Then they line up in the game and you know it's coming. You see it and you see it before it happened. You see it coming. As a football player, why you didn't react? You see it was coming. You seen it on film. Why you didn't react? That's why I say Alabama had to been sleeping on Vandy or sleepwalking or whatever they was doing. Don't do that no more. Right now, take it one game at a time. Get things back rolling. Watch your film, practice, go through your progressions, get it all. Go out on the field. Let's just go back to play Alabama football. Play to the standard. If you don't watch the film all week, then during the game, a live game, you see it coming. You see how they lined up. You see the play coming. You like, okay, they doing the same thing I seen on film. Here comes this play. And they all lined react. Whatever that coach told you to do and how and you on studying how to break the play up, disrupt it, or just shut the play down. As a football player, you got to react. That's our problem. Young guy, I know we got some young guys back there, but they got to learn. React. Jump on the ball. If it come your way, you see it coming. You see the play coming. Contain the man. Whatever you did in practice, do it. It's all about execution. Being in the right spot at the right time. You see it coming. You ready to play. Be like, okay, I seen this on film all week. Oh, they doing it. Oh, they about to run this play. React. As a football player, react. You're either going to break this play up or get a chance. Ball come your way, especially you're a DB or a safety, whatever, ball come your way. Step in front of it. Let's intercept it. You ain't got to touch the wide receiver. You ain't got to bang him up. Just try to break it up. You see it coming before the ball snap. Be where you're supposed to be. Keep that wide receiver where he's supposed to be. Get in front of him. Don't let him get behind you. Break it up or either take the ball away. Or if you on that front seven, you're a big linebacker, whatever. If you coming on a blitz, whatever, you're like, okay, I see this one. That way it takes some stress and pressure off the secondary. Get to the quarterback. If you can get to him, get to the quarterback. Put him on the ground. Don't miss the tackle, especially a mobile quarterback. No, don't let him get out the pocket. Nope. If you can get back there, blow the man up in front of you, get in the backfield. Start putting some of these quarterbacks on the ground. Just go back to old school football. Smash mouth. Make them get up, run another play. Make them try it again. Make them discombobulated. Like, hey, make the other team stay confused. Keep them on their heels at all times. That's what we got to do. Go back to fundamental old school football. The 4-2-5, nothing wrong with it. It's all about players read the play, stick to your assignment. If you got to switch something up at the line and you're a captain, be like, okay, they doing this, they trying to switch up. So coaches be like, okay, they seen it. Then y'all switch up, get where you're supposed to be. Listen to the coaches, remember your assignment. But as a player, you remember your experience. Be like, okay, I switched it up, but I'm still in the wrong spot. I'm gonna do this. Sometimes the player have to go out of his way, be like, no, I'm gonna do this right here. You gotta help. The coach is gonna help you first, but you gotta help yourself as well. You gotta help yourself in order to help the coach, but the coach gotta help you too. That's a whole unit. That's like give and take. Coaches gotta help players. Players gotta help coaches. Be like, hey, this is what we seeing on the field. Tell your coordinators, like, hey, this is what we seeing on the field. That coach 9 times out of 10 is gonna have a solution to that problem. Because the coaches see stuff before you see it and you on the field. They looking at it from afar. So if you see something on the field as a player, like they doing this right here, trying to confuse me on this look, on this scheme, go to your head coach or go to your coordinator, be like, hey, this is what we seeing on the field. 9 times out of 10, they're gonna have a solution for your problem. And this is what these young guys got to get into their head. Like, hey, talk to your coach. Talk to your coach.
If Alabama had the same effort that in the Georgia game against Vanderbilt, they easily win. It was definitely an effort thing and not playing as hard. I mean, if they come out relentless and hungry against South Carolina and upset that they just lost this Vanderbilt game, they should be fine. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, and I like what Tyler Booker said too in his little interview, that everybody got to still like stick together, come together as a unit, but we got to listen to instruction. I like that. But like I was saying, if you're getting confused over something, you're a player, talk to your coaches. You see in this scheme, this, that, but coaches help you, you help coaches. But if you see it on film already and then they actually try to run this certain setup and scheme in the game, as a player, you got to react. Shut it down. You already studied for it and practiced for it all week. Shut it down. React. Start executing. That's how you execute. You execute, get to the right spots, be in the right spots. All good. It's either one or two things. You either broke that play up or you made them turn the ball over.
There we go. So what's your score prediction for this game, Blake?
South Carolina game?
For Alabama, South Carolina, yes.
I got 2 predictions, but I want to go with my first prediction. 52-17.
I hope it's
my second. Yeah. Second prediction, a minimum, I'm going to say 48-3.
Okay.
Look.
48-3 would be even better.
I think these guys are going to be playing with a chip on their shoulder. They got a nasty foul taste in their mouth. It's not sitting well with them. They lost to Vandy. That coaching staff is like, okay, we are messed up. We got to correct this. We got to get this right. They know South Carolina going to be a scrappy team, but I think Alabama's going to come out this week. They're going to come out this week ready to just fight from start to finish. I don't think they taking this team lightly like they did Vanderbilt. I don't think they going to sit there and just say, all right, whatever we did last week, do better. No. They saying, all right, whatever we did last week, get rid of that. Now we got to do this. We got to do that. We got to be better right here. We got to fix our mistakes. Bonehead penalties, got to get rid of that. We got to go back out and play Alabama football. I think they watched that Vandy film, analyze that, and say, okay, this is all our mistakes. This is what we can't do. This is what we can do. This is what we can't do. But I also believe they went back and watched that Georgia game and be like, all right, this is our bread and butter. But they only watched that first half. This is our bread and butter. This is what we need to be doing. This is what we need to be doing. They're going to go back to what was working but they're going to make that better. But they're also going to fix their mistakes, and they're also going to say, all right, I know they're going for this explosive play. We're going to do this. We can't do this. We can't do that. But we're going to adapt, and we're going to stop this, stop that. We're going to fix our weaknesses. This was the week for them to fix their weaknesses. Now they got to come out against South Carolina and say, all right, how much better did we get? We got to win this game, but did we get better? They're going to win the game, but they're going to come out and play, say, all right, play it, win it, but they're going to say, all right, did we get better? As the weeks go, they got to get better. It's a cycle. Because in this game, it's South Carolina. They're going to have some mistakes here and there in the game. They're human. Okay, just like South Carolina, they're going to make mistakes. They might make some good home run plays. They might make a mistake here and there. Both teams going to have mistakes. Both teams going to have home run plays. Alabama going to win the game, but they're going to go back when they win this game, and I think they will by a large margin. Then they're going to go back and look at the South Carolina tape, but they're also going to study their opponents too. They're going to go back and the South Carolina tape, be like, all right, we're still having a problem here. We still got to fix this, clean this up a little bit. They're going to work on themselves. They're going to make themselves better as the weeks go along, but they're also going to study their opponents, which is the next opponent after they win a game. Their next opponent, they're going to start getting the wheels back turning. Hopefully get the wheels back turning. And it's going to be a whole different Alabama team. They got to go back to their bread and butter.
For sure. And what you got going on for this weekend? Before we let you go, we want to let you know you're always welcome to call in on the Alabama Crimson Tide call-in show as much as you want on Thursday nights for sure, man.
Definitely
you are welcome anytime.
It was a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for calling in. And
you're welcome.
And what you got going on this weekend in the adventures of Blake Miles?
Having fun, cooking out, watching the Bama game, and then I'm watching other games too, but really watching the Bama game. And I'm also gonna be dialed in on that Ole Miss LSU game. And before the LSU and Ole Miss game. And reason I'm gonna be dialed in on that before I go, I'm gonna go through this real quick. I know it's LSU's homecoming, but right now it's just another football game. That's what Ole Miss think. Ole Miss red hot right now. Defense, they're not the old school Ole Miss defense that just, okay, we can't stop nobody here and there. We're just going to let the game go. No. This defense is just different. But that offense is just high powered. That offense, they like to score a lot of points at will. With Jackson Dart, those guys right there, they kind of scary looking right now. Okay, LSU cannot think, okay, it's Ole Miss. If we do some things here and there, game over. No. This Ole Miss team scores at will. Defense, they fly around. They like to take the ball away, bat it down. They DBs and they corners and they safeties. They also like stepping in front of passes and stuff. Right. I think Nussmeier is going to have a hard time trying to pass on that Ole Miss secondary. Ole Miss got all the weapons and the coaching staff now behind them. They got Lane Kiffin and Pete Golden over there now. Pete Golden is not a stranger of beating LSU.
Well, Blake, I will tell you, if you want to hear a lot about LSU Ole Miss, you can definitely hear it on episode 52 of the Jacksonian, where I had on Leanne Herring from the Rebel Walk and host of Ole Miss Live Show and Ole Miss at the Voice of College Football, where we went over our take on the Magnolia Bowl. And I'll tell you right now, it was a wild ride. It was fun.
Yep. Now, score petition for that game. Got a score petition for that game. I think Ole Miss can beat them. I think Ole Miss can go to Baton Rouge and beat them. Lane Kiffin and that high-powered offense is going to be a problem. But now he's got a defense kind of behind him that can also stop somebody and bag it up a little bit. If everything goes well in the first half again in that game, and Ole Miss got things going, whatever here and there, and they got this game kind of close, or they kind of sort of trying to run away with it. I think Ole Miss can win this game 38-21. I think Ole Miss can win this game 38-21, maybe even 42-21. I ain't gonna give LSU past 21 points.
I've got Ole Miss winning 31-28 as well. I mean, as they say, great minds think alike.
I think Ole Miss is going to be a problem for LSU, and I think they got every weapon with the coaching staff, and they got the right mindset right now to go into Baton Rouge with what they got and pull this win out. Because after what I seen what LSU did with USC, Ole Miss is a way better team than USC. LSU got some problems this weekend, and I'm out right now. I'm originally from Vincent, Alabama, but right now I live in Shellmack, Louisiana. Okay, these LSU fans out here, they real cocky. They real cocky right now about Ole Miss, but you shouldn't be. They must then see Ole Miss play lately. I've been watching Ole Miss since week 1. These guys, they ain't no joke. Ole Miss got every weapon on the field, on defense and offense. They got everything around them with the staff and the coaching, from DB coaches, defensive coordinators, offensive coordinators, head coach. They got everything that LSU ain't got right now to upset them at home on their homecoming. Because they got to think. You got to think. After all those opponents that LSU played and after all the opponents that Ole Miss played up to now, this ain't USC and this ain't that South Carolina team you barely beat either. Ole Miss a different animal right now.
Yeah.
And Ole Miss can beat USC and South Carolina right now. If they was ever get on the field right now and they suit up, they can beat them. LSU might be in trouble this week. They might be in trouble. And I mean in a bad way. If that game first half kind of like sort of gets out of hand because they can't stop Lane Kiffin from dialing up these plays and taking the deep ball shots and over the top passes like the slants, post routes and stuff like that. And then Jackson Dart is running when he want to run, doing what he want to do. And then that running back court, Ole Miss got too. They ain't no slouch. They some pretty good running backs, real decent. And they can't stop that. It's going to be a long day because Ole Miss actually got a defense that can back them up now. They can back them up. So LSU might be in trouble. But I'm going to get up out of here.
Well, you have a good night. Sleep well, Blake Miles. And thank you for calling in. And don't be a stranger. You're always welcome to call in anytime, man.
All right.
Roll Tide. Hopefully we get a
Roll
great
Tide.
this weekend.
Roll Tide.
Here we go. And we got a buddy of ours from Sports Talk with Austin Williams. Man, how you doing tonight?
What's up, fellas? Coming to check in. Just see how the room temperature is because it's getting hot. And I don't mean just over here in Louisville. It's getting hot in Tuscaloosa, too.
I think some people, they're getting all, Saban would have done this, that, or the other. They're throwing the baby out with the bathwater, as our last caller put it.
The thing is, I will say again that if Nick Saban was the coach, they would not have lost to Vanderbilt. They would not have lost. But it doesn't mean that they wouldn't have lost, another game that they would have been favored to win in. Like in Oklahoma down the stretch, or they could have lost to Georgia. You never know. It's just the rat poison got to them. They got the Georgia win, and then it's like, oh well, Vanderbilt's not good. Vanderbilt's not a team that we got to worry about. It just the players didn't even look like they were even trying in the game half the time. So I mean, I don't think it's time for the panic button, but I do believe that Kalen DeBoer is going to have to do a better job in the future of just telling the guys like, hey, we got to treat every opponent like, they can beat us because they can. Vanderbilt proved it.
Well, and one thing interesting, and I know this is coaches speak, I've heard it a lot, and it kind of rings true. Sometimes you come off a high of a big win, right? And your team gets a little too cocky, gets too big for their britches, as our parents like to teach us. Don't get too big for your britches. I kind of think maybe Alabama kind of got a little too big for their britches. Like, oh, we just beat Georgia. This is still our town. We're not scared of anybody. Vanderbilt, you're not on our level. And it was kind of like that could be true, but guess what? Everyone has a fighting chance. And Vanderbilt proved that on Saturday. They may not be the biggest dog in the SEC, but they had the most heart that day. That's all that matters.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. The better team does not always win, like I said earlier. If that was the case, you would not watch college football. You wouldn't watch any sport if the favored team or the better team on paper wins every time. And, I mean, the thing is, we've seen Bama be inconsistent this season. The South Florida game, if anybody remembers the first half of that South Florida game this year, they were absolutely horrible. Even the third quarter.
It was ugly.
The fourth quarter, they blew it open. Looked like a completely different team, and it made the score look like they blew them out. They didn't blow them out. You kept hearing the commentators say, this score is not indicative of the result of the game, like what we saw. It was a really close game all the way through. Bama legitimately struggled with South Florida, and then at the end of the game, they blew it open. Against Georgia, we saw Alabama in that first half like the best team in college football. That's not even debatable. By far the best team in college football in that first half. Look at that second half. They played terrible. So Bama's been very inconsistent in games all throughout this season so far. That's got to stop if they're going to make the college football playoff and have any shot of being a championship contender. They're very inconsistent even within a game.
You know, this might sound a little crazy, but I'm going to say it. I think this was a great thing for Alabama to have happen to them because now they could kind of center themselves again. Like, okay, we just got punched in the mouth. Like, now let's get back on track. We got the bad loss out of the way. Let's focus on South Carolina and let's not take anyone lightly anymore. I think it's a good lesson that every team could learn. Like, even Alabama sometimes has to learn that you take a bad loss every now and then.
Agreed. I mean, having a bad loss in this part of the year is always a blessing in disguise.
No, especially now with the 12-team playoff because, like, Alabama's still in the playoff. If the playoff was today, they'd be in the playoff. With this horrible loss to Vanderbilt, they would still be in. They're ranked 7th. I mean, obviously the CFP rankings aren't out yet, but you know they're going to be in the top 11 in the CFP rankings if the rankings were out. So, yeah, I mean, like a loss like this doesn't wreck your season anymore. Now, whether that's a good or bad thing, I don't know, because to me, like that is lowering the standard. I mean, because we know like Stephen Cherry, the Ohio State fan, love Stephen. Appreciate him for watching earlier. But, I mean, he made a really good point earlier. I'm trying to find his comment, but he made a great point, basically, that like Alabama fans aren't used to coping and all that, right? So, like you're talking about, like Alabama's now making excuses. If you're an elite program, if you're a great team, you don't make excuses. You don't cope, right? You're not like, oh, well, you lost to Vanderbilt. It's okay, right? Like, it's going to be all right. Like, because I agree with Blake, who was on earlier, and even, Hayden, like, I understand that this loss, they can turn it around. But it's also like when you are a top 3 or 4 team in college football, like you're not supposed to lose to teams like this. You're not supposed to make excuses for it either, because then you start basically accepting worse, more mediocrity. It's kind of like Nebraska football, Indiana basketball. Like these teams were fantastic 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000, whatever. And now it's like, oh, if Nebraska makes a bowl game, that's good. Right? If Indiana basketball makes the tournament, that's good. When Indiana basketball used to expect championships, when Nebraska football used to expect championships, that's what happens. And Alabama, like This is not, oh, Alabama's now, oh, if they make a bowl game. No, it's 1 year off Saban. They're still an elite team. I don't think Bama's going to fall off. When Saban retired, people said Bama was going to fall off. I'm just saying that you definitely can't let stuff like this become the norm, though. If this is just a one-off and then, you get it fixed, make the playoff, all that's all good. But if you start, letting these losses start happening every year and then more of these losses, then you're lowering the standard from Bama being an elite team to, oh, well, now they're 7-5, 8-4. Now they're barely making bowl games. So you don't want that trend to start.
Well, and the thing, too, is that I wanted to bring to your attention is I feel like people are going to, start looking at this and saying, Bama should not lose Vandy, like you all have said, and they shouldn't. But see, here's the thing. I feel like if you lose to a team like Vanderbilt, it gives more hope for the sport, in my opinion. I think this past Saturday was, the best Saturday we've had in quite a long time. Not just Alabama, but look what happened with Missouri. Look what happened across the board. Miami, another week is surviving yet again. This is great for college football.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It shows that we're getting more competitive. That the big boys aren't just gonna run over anybody as much as they used to anymore. Now, obviously, I don't think Vanderbilt's gonna beat Alabama. If they played 10 times, Bama would probably win 9 out of the 10. But there's always that once in a lifetime chance, as you all like to say, especially you, Jeffrey. You always say there's always that puncher's chance. And I think it showed Saturday.
I agree with you, Austin, that it's good for the sport. I'm enjoying it. I mean, I am a, big Alabama fan, but even me, it was getting really frustrating. In a way, every year it was Bama Clemson, and it was starting to be Bama Georgia. It was yeah, I'm glad Alabama is doing as good as they are, and it's awesome that they're winning championship after championship, but at the same time, it was becoming very predictable. And it was like no other team had a shot. And I understand in theory why the 12-team playoff, people love it, because it's now more teams have a chance to win it all. But at the same time, it's well, for that to happen, you need parity. Because what were people saying? The biggest detractors of a 12-team playoff were that, oh, well, it's going to be the same teams that are going to have the best chance to win. Bama, Georgia, Ohio State,
or that the season's not going to matter as much.
Well, I mean, I get the point with the season not mattering as much, because you're not going to have games like Michigan, Ohio State last year where the winner is in the playoff and the loser is out of the playoff, or Bama, Georgia last year. That's done. So each individual game won't be as big, but it does make more games matter, though, because you could have a 10-2 team still get in. But the thing is, for the playoff to be good, though, you need upsets, though. If you have a team like Alabama playing Penn State in the playoff, and Alabama beats Penn State by 30, that's not interesting. No one's going to care. But if Penn State knocks off Alabama or is a close game, then people are going to be like, man, this 12-team playoff's great, because we're getting all these competitive games. We're seeing all the, these other teams getting in there, like Ole Miss, and Penn State, maybe even Indiana if that happens. That's good, but you have to have these games competitive. So I think, to your point, Austin, with these games looking like this so far, that is a good sign.
Well, and to add to your point, Jeffrey and Jackson, you have mentioned on multiple occasions as well, but when the 14 playoff, we always knew Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, and then Michigan and Clemson were the 5 teams you knew were going to take up 3 of those spots. Mm-hmm. And then the fourth one was, and then the 4th spot was going to be if anyone survived the Big 12 or the Pac-12. And most of the time, no one did, except TCU, by the grace of God, made it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, college football definitely was getting too predictable there for a bit. I mean, and I think at the end of the day, I mean, a lot of people don't necessarily care.
It basically felt like watching a Phineas and Ferb episode. You knew what was going to happen for 10 minutes.
Yeah, but it was still fun. People still going to watch college football. But yeah, it was getting kind of old, though.
Well, and I do want to bring this up, though, on the game, though. I want to hear your all's take on this, because Jackson and Johnny Burks discussed this as well. And Jeffrey, I want to hear your take on it now that you're here as well.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama's secondary.
Ooh,
Are we not a little concerned after what we saw Saturday?
I'm concerned.
The Georgia game made me feel better about the secondary because I'm like, all right, well, they sealed the deal. They got the game-winning pick at the end, and at times they did good in the game. But yeah, the Vanderbilt game, just disastrous. I mean, it's insane. It's just absolutely disastrous. So I feel like it can be excused to an extent because Alabama's defense is young, especially in the secondary. There's a lot of youth there. So they're going to get better. They're going to improve with time. But when you're talking about right now, yeah, it's definitely worrisome because I got Tennessee coming up. Now, I will say, as much as people have been hyping Nico Iamaleava, or I think that's how you pronounce his last name. However,
Lima
I can't say. I just say Iamaleava. It sounds good to me. But Nico, Nico. He's really talented, but last couple games, not really good offensively. So will he do good against Bama? Probably, if the secondary really struggles, but maybe it won't be as big of a concern if he's not playing that well. But if he is playing well, yeah, it's going to be a problem. So, I mean, all in all, I agree with Austin that Alabama, the secondary, it's a cause for concern. But I will say with them being young, that could bode well, though, for the future, that they could get a lot better.
And we got Austin back, and we have a super chat contribution from JT Thompson. We appreciate it very much. And he says there should be a G on Jeffrey's hat.
I'm assuming that's for Georgia. I appreciate your stopping by, JT. I really appreciate the super chat. Helps out the channel. Helps out the Voice of College Football. I really appreciate it. But, man, I don't know, man. I mean, Georgia content's coming at the Voice of College Football. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on the Georgia channel. But we got Bama going. Johnny Burks and Jackson. Monday nights doing Alabama Crimson Tide live. Also, I'm thinking that Johnny and Jackson are going to be doing the post-game show as well after the games. And Thursday nights, me and Jackson be doing this. It's kind of a play it by ear thing, but I might be able at times to be on those other shows if it's possible. I might be able to be on the post game because I actually was on the post game the other night with Jackson and Zach. I was on the post game for the Georgia game. That was a ton of fun. And but yeah, you're going to be seeing Jackson and Johnny probably the most, but you might see me every now and then on those other shows. But you'll be seeing me for sure every Thursday night with Jackson for the call-in show. If you want to call in, JT, you absolutely can. Definitely appreciate that as well. But
the more the merrier.
JT says always take the sticker.
Invitation for everybody. We've got the invitation for everybody. Alabama fans, Auburn fans, Tennessee fans, non-SEC fans, SEC. Literally everyone is invited. The show is about you, the caller, giving your take on the Alabama Crimson Tide right here on Alabama with the Voice of College Football. And, I've been looking for something to get. I wanted to get something nice, for my birth week. And I decided, you know what? I'll get this book, The Disputed National Champions, College Football's Historical 1990s Reset. And in this book, you'll learn what happened during the 90s, how the decade changed sport, why the championship results should be questioned, how to critically think through the scenarios, to appreciate the accomplishments of teams that were not recognized as champions. This book provides an in-depth analysis of the changes, controversies, outcomes that defined a decade of college football. And I can tell you right now, you're going to want to get this book from Mark Rogers, as he's got it out on Amazon, and I recommend you get it. If you love college football history, come on in and get Disputed National Champions, the historical 1990s reset. You're not going to want to miss it.
Yeah, definitely. That's going to be a great read for sure. And Jackson, he's the promo king, man. He's the advertiser. Absolutely. he can do a fantastic advertisement. But in this case, you don't have to really hype it up. You know it's going to be a fantastic book. Mark Rogers himself, the voice of college football with the disputed national championships, but that's going to be fantastic for sure. You definitely want to go read that and check it out.
For sure. And don't forget to tell your friends, your family, and the cashiers at Publix about how to become a YouTube member at Alabama with the Voice of College Football for $2.99 a month. You can become a Crimson Faithful member where you will have a loyalty badge next to your name, and you can have a custom emoji to use in comments and in the live chat. And $4.99 a month, you get priority replies to comments and access to a monthly hangout by becoming a Saban disciple. And for $9.99 a month, you can connect on social media with yours truly and friends right here on Alabama with the Voice of College Football. And you can give out content requests for $9.99 a month.
Absolutely. I mean, that's definitely going to help out the channel as well, and going to be a lot of great content coming on the way from Jackson, probably me as well. I mean, definitely. I mean, Johnny, I mean, it's going to be fantastic for sure. So definitely would really appreciate it if you join the Alabama channel. We got a lot of channels already with memberships. Michigan, I know, has memberships, Ohio State, USC, the big ones, but Alabama does. And also, as well, the smaller teams are getting channels also. I just put in the chat. I don't know if you're sub JT, but we got an Indiana channel too. The Indiana channel is live right now. It's been, I think the channel's been out for a few weeks. So if you definitely want to check out Indiana at the Voice of College Football, you'll be seeing me talking about the Indiana Hoosiers every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be doing a post game as well for Indiana, should every single week, but definitely would appreciate it if you want to go check out the Indiana channel. We got more channels coming on the way at the Voice of College Football. Ole Miss is now out. The Ole Miss channel is out. Rutgers, Jackson just put that out there. Rutgers has a channel, and Penn State's coming. A lot of channels are coming, so you're definitely not going to want to miss all of the great content coming at the Voice of College Football. But definitely Mark Rogers' book going to be fantastic, and the Alabama channel just launched memberships, which is really, really cool. But yeah, the Missouri channel's coming too. Absolutely, Zach, the Alabama post-game host for the longest time, is now going to be the Missouri channel host. So yeah, that's pretty cool right there. JT says, I lived in Naptown for 2 years. Ex-wife is a Hoosier. Well, I mean, definitely, again, would really appreciate if you check out the Indiana channel a lot. I mean, we're at 51 subs right now. I mean, that's awesome. Like, we have not had it out very long. We're at 51 subscribers. So definitely really appreciate it and appreciate the super chat. But we had Austin on a few minutes ago. Austin, guess he had to go. But like I said, JT, if you want to come on, definitely chat it up for a few. But definitely, if no one calls in again, probably be going soon, but definitely will be live for a little bit longer, see if anybody else calls in. But yeah, it's big news. A lot of stuff going on at the Voice of College Football, though.
Oh yeah, a lot of huge events. And if you got any host recommendations, email Mark at MarkRogersTV@gmail.com for any host recommendations for any of the teams that don't have a show yet right here at the Voice of College Football.
Absolutely. I mean, eventually every Power 5 team or Power 4 team is going to have a host. I mean, it'll take a bit, but eventually that will happen. That will be awesome. Because, I mean, every team deserves to have, coverage and people talking about them, even if it's Vanderbilt, right? Look at Vanderbilt. They just knocked off Alabama. So, you know what? I said at the beginning of the season that, it'd be hard to get a Vanderbilt host. Well, you know what? Get a Vanderbilt host. Vanderbilt just knocked off Alabama. So definitely every team has fans, alumni, and there's going to be hosts for everybody eventually talking all those teams, which is going to be awesome.
That's right. I'm putting it in. Email Mark. So
definitely, I'm really excited about being on the Indiana channel, the Indiana host. It's really awesome and it's a very exciting time for Indiana football, and really excited also to be on the Alabama channel. Love the Crimson Tide. So glad we got to have the first edition of the call-in show. It's been a great show tonight, and you guys have been awesome in the chat. Appreciate, again, the super chat from JT. And like I said, just so excited to be on the Indiana channel and the Alabama channel, and I'll be contributing on the Alabama channel as well. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And with that being said, we will see you all again on Saturday, a little bit after the Alabama-South Carolina matchup for the post-game show, as Johnny Burtz and I will be going over our takeaways from that game. We don't know if we'll see Jeffrey on Saturday, but that's okay, because as he said himself, he will be back here with me next Thursday on the Alabama Call-In Show for the second edition, as we got some fun ahead of us. We'll be discussing Alabama, Tennessee. And don't forget, Monday afternoon for the 8th edition of Crimson Tide Live, that's going to be a wild ride. And with that,
absolutely,
we bid you all a good night and sleep. Oh, before we go, what's your prediction for Alabama, South Carolina? I didn't ask you.
That's a great question, because me and Will have not had time this week to do our predictions. So I have not done my predictions for any of the games. It's sad. It's sad, Jackson. It's really sad. We wanted to do it. Try to do it next week. We're probably out of time this week. I might, on my YouTube channel, Only Talk Sports Live. You guys know about my YouTube channel. I'll try maybe be able to post like a quick video on some.
Maybe I can read your mind. Maybe I can take a guess on what your prediction is. Alabama 38-14.
I was gonna go with Alabama 41, South Carolina 20. That's my prediction. So you're close, very close. 41-20. I'm a little nervous about that defense. A little bit nervous about that defense. So that's my score prediction, 41-20. So what was yours again? What was your score prediction again?
35-17. I put that out on Monday, but I don't mind putting it out again for all of you in the chat, and especially for you, Jeffrey, and for all of those that will be tuning in tomorrow or tuning in while they're staying up late when they really shouldn't be. So there we go. So, I mean, there we go. It's in syndication, if you will.
Yeah, it's in syndication, man. It'll be here forever, right? You know, it's
forever!
not like TV where they take it off. It's forever.
Forever.
On strike with SpongeBob forever. One eternity later.
I mean, those skeletons aren't exactly doing the skeleton dance, that's for sure.
Oh, man. Yeah, we'll be here as skeletons, still making our predictions for Alabama 60, 70 years from now. Oh, man.
Well, I mean, if you're looking for good laughs from Alabama football, this is the place to be. Every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Central Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you don't feel like staying up late, that's okay. You can watch it on a rerun on Alabama with the Voice of College Football. And to that, we wish you all a good night and sleep well. Stay safe, stay cool, stay away from the heat. And, you know, for those that are affected by the tragedy that's going on in Florida, we pray for you. We want you to stay safe and stay cool. Stay away from that rain. That's all. Get in a safe place. Don't be anywhere near that hurricane. Don't just stay away from that bad rain. Because I can tell you right now, storms are scary. They're scary.
Absolutely. Both hurricanes were rough, and I am been praying for North Carolina, Florida, all the people affected by it. It's been very bad.
And we just want you to know you're in our hearts. And you stay safe, stay cool, and we will catch you next time.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide!